Order, Town Council meeting of June 5th. Would you please stand with me in honoring America? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilor Roy? Here. Councilor Holbrook? Here. Councilor Sullivan?
Here.
Councilor St. Clair?
Here.
Councilor Blaze?
Here.
Councilor Benedict?
Here.
And Chairman Alquist.
Here. Next is general public comments. I would say that we are going to have an opportunity at the public hearing to talk about the budget, and hopefully we can keep it to that. Tonight is, as you know, is a lot of graduation things are going on, and there's going to be a lot of people leaving here at 7 o'clock to go to Baccalaureate, I believe, is tonight. So we want to kind of move this thing along. So if you have comments other than the budget that you'd like to speak, I would say do it now, and then we'll have an opportunity in a few minutes to talk about the budget. Any other comments about anything besides the budget? Okay, that's that. We'll go right into minutes, the May 15th and May 29th minutes.
Move approval. Second.
Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, those all in favor? Opposed? It's a vote. Adjustments to the agenda, I don't believe we have any. Items to be signed, we'll do that throughout the meeting.
Order number 1347 is a 6 p.m. public hearing and second reading on the proposed FY 2014 school budget.
This is a public hearing, and I will open the public hearing, and I will say that for all you folks that came the first time, we heard you loud and clear. And if anybody has any new information, this would be the opportunity, I would say, to do it. And keep in mind the time restraints we have time.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you. My name is Christine Massengill, and I'm the chair of the Scarborough Board of Education. And I'd just like to share a message from the school board with the council and the public. This budget season has been a long and difficult one. Our process needs to be reassessed and revamped. None of us can afford to have the attention of our school and town leaders diverted for such an extensive time away from the important business of running our schools and our town operations. We are all tired. The school board employs the town council to adopt the budget as we have very thoughtfully and respectfully revised it. Any more reductions in this budget will do irreparable harm to our schools, our educational programs, and most importantly, and most unfortunately, to our students. Passing the budget as presented and sending it out to referendum for the June 11th is what is in the best interest of the community, and we are confident that you hold the best interest of this town as the high priority in your service on the town council. In return, the school board will commit to encouraging our school supporters to vote yes, though like me, the sentiments of other school supporters may not be that the budget is still too low. That sentiment can be conveyed while still voting in favor of the school board's revised budget. And most importantly, moving forward in the most cooperative and collaborative fashion to work with the town council and the town leaders, along with the superintendent, our key school leaders and school board members, to strategically develop a longer-term plan for both adequately funding the schools and the priority town services while tackling tough structural factors that will allow us to run them all operations efficiently and in a way that's sustainable in the long run. We thank you for your efforts and energy and for your commitments to our town. We on the school board, your fellow citizens, appreciate all that you do for Scarborough, and we look forward to partnering with you so that all of our collective efforts can derive the highest level of good for all of our citizens. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak? Name and address, please.
Good morning. I'm Jacqueline Perry. I live at 215 Black Point Road. I am a member of the school board, and I was unable to be here last week because I had minor eye surgery, and I did listen, and I thank you for that opportunity last week. I thank you also for meeting at 6 o'clock to accommodate all of the parents and the board members, town manager who wish to attend Baccalaureate. I ask you to consider moving forward as an opportunity for all of us, for our students who want to pursue an education whether it be beyond high school or technology, an opportunity for us to show the town that we love that we can work together to keep us great. There are things we can do together to benefit our town, and as Chris said, we're committed to doing that, and we hope you are too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, name and address, please.
Martin Tripp, 26 Oceanwood Drive. Once I looked at the school system in a small way, and I figured I'd want to look at it some more. And what we are talking about is public education. So the first thing I want to do a brief on is private education. First things, private education is first and foremost private spending. Gifts are always welcome. My wife and I were to my college, and it was all immersed in funding, directions. The emphasis was on our rating and rating maintenance. New buildings and beautification in town and college were number one. College contribution totals and percent of class rated high, employment was high. Every effort was made to appeal to alumni of different ages. Everybody had a good time, a pleasant atmosphere. Okay. My point is the academic types, the teachers, the professors, and administrators carried the conversation and mostly directed the theme. This directly applies to Scarborough because everything I've mentioned here is being directed by the town and by the Board of Education in the way they'd like to. The only exception and the only difference in this is that the funds for public education are not private or voluntary, but imposed by taxes. And you have to have some consideration for those that aren't willing or able to afford these taxes. 800 voters said that they could not afford the taxes. And I'm sure there were more than that, just as there are more than people that were too busy to vote the other way the last time. Well, it struck me that 4 or 5 residents that I included come up here and talk about constraint in spending, and people get up in arms because we talk about it, and you have an awful good meeting this day, as last week. Well, we're not an organized minority, but there is an organized majority. I don't even know how to set up a Facebook page. If I wanted to look at the Facebook, I wouldn't be able to figure out how to get to it. But that's another thing. But that's my general gist. And the last thing I got to say is $54,000. I don't know how they come up with this number. Somebody came up with it. They must have good reason. Because they're our leadership. There must be a reason. But I figured it out, and my math's not so good.
Could you wrap it up, please?
I'm going to do it right now. $54,000 in my math is 0.14%. 0.14. Not even one. It's such a tiny amount, you can't believe it. 0.14 is all that you people are talking about, and you want to put the cap and limit it to 0.14 total? It's amazing. You have no respect for the votes and the feelings of those
Thank you.
800 taxpayers. Yeah, I'm done. I cut it short.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that didn't have an opportunity to speak at the first meeting? Just step right up, give your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Jean Marie Caterina. I live at 311 Gorham Road, and I am here tonight to encourage the town council to hold the line on further cuts to the school budget, cuts that have been eating away at the quality of the education in Scarborough. I am purposely wearing my University of Chicago t-shirt tonight as emblematic of the quality of schools that our children can aspire to reach as my daughter did 4 years ago, and she graduates next week. I also speak tonight, though, for those students who, while not choosing a four-year college after graduation, still benefited from the quality of education they received here in our schools. They have all learned to read critically, write cogently, figure precisely, and think for themselves. We cannot and we must not let quality public education continue to erode in Scarborough. This budget cannot become a matter of the children, our bright future, being pitted against our elderly, our lustrous past, but rather a matter of choosing to value all of our citizens and working hard to ensure that our tax dollars are invested wisely to ensure our future and protect our past. Budgets reflect our community values. Frankly, as taxpayers, we need to be focusing our attention on Augusta and ask our local legislators why we are not seeing the state taxes we pay being returned to the town in the form of school aid as required by law, and why there is a proposal to stop state revenue sharing, cut the circuit breaker program, and remove the homestead exemption that's still on the table up in Augusta tonight. That proposed budget will certainly cause our property taxes to rise, hurting most acutely those who can least afford to pay, and it will do lasting damage to our schools. This cannot be. Thank you for not cutting the school budget any further, and I look forward to fruitful discussions in the months to come and actions that make sure that our town officials are working hard to make sure that our budget reflects our values as the town of Scarborough. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Step right up. Your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Lisa Douglas, 3 Mayflower Drive here in Scarborough. I'm coming to you as a Scarborough teacher. I'm also coming to you as a Scarborough parent. I'm also coming to you as a Scarborough taxpayer. I've spent a lot of this year going all over our state and going all over New Hampshire and Massachusetts, looking at other educational programs on behalf of our school system. What other districts are doing, what other states are doing is amazing. What Scarborough is doing is amazing, but we have a ways to go, and it will cost us money, innovative programs, and support from the town council, the school board, and everyone else to go ahead and make these changes happen. Our surrounding areas are ahead of us in certain areas. If we don't supply enough books for our kids to use, if we don't supply enough programs for our children to use, if we don't put education first in this town over athletics, yes, I said it, over athletics, over sidewalks to nowhere, over beach houses that are great, but if our education isn't standing up to things, it's going to cost this town a whole lot more than a later on in the plan sidewalk, a later on in the plan beach house, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm asking this town council to please take a look at their budget. Please take a look at not putting all the burden on the education side, all the education on the taxpayer side, and maybe we can reallocate some funds that we have allocated now, pump them into education, shore up our weaker spots where they are, and go ahead and really make a mark, because it will cost the town a whole lot more if we don't do it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Finton Brady, and I am a student at the Wentworth in the 3rd grade. I have a sister in the 4th grade. I live at 33 Woodsboro Road. I'm here to tell you not to lower the school budget because I think it is already too low. We will lose activities because we would not have enough money to pay for them. We would also lose ed techs and teachers because we would not have enough to pay for some of them either. I had to bring in tissues and pencils this year because my teacher didn't have enough to afford them. I know you guys all do not like paying taxes, but if we raise the taxes, it'll make it easier for us just to not lower the school budget and make the schools better. And I still think it is already too low. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please hold your applause so we can get through this. There's going to be, we're going to have a lot of, we got to get these people through here tonight. Next.
Hi.
Name and
Will.
address?
Oh, yep. My name is Will Rowan. I live at 14 Bonnie Grove Drive. My wife and I own a home, own our home and a business that's located.
Excuse me, would you lift the mic so we could hear you, please? Thank you.
Thank you. So I came to the meeting last week, and I thought that the show of support in favor of spending on our schools was overwhelming and wonderful. But I did learn a few things. I was very disappointed to learn, based on last week's reduced school budget, that we were spending below the state average per pupil. And I found it deplorable that we were 13th out of 13 comparable communities in overall spending, and last or nearly last in so many spending categories. When my wife and I were looking to move out of Portland 4 years ago, we chose towns we wanted to live in based on, number one, the school system, and number two, proximity to where we work. We did not consider the mill rate. While we knew what they were, taxes did not figure into our calculation. And I think that's typical for young families looking to buy a home. And as a town, we compete with the other communities in the area to attract families that want to live here and for businesses that want to serve our population. The outcome of that competition directly impacts our property values. We also compete for the talented individuals that work in our schools. And all of those groups are listening when we say that we here in Scarborough value education less than the other 12 comparable communities in southern Maine. Last week, we were dead last, and that's not a good place to be. Now, money does not necessarily mean results, but neglecting our schools can have serious consequences. It can be a slow downward spiral of declining tax base and further increased spending pressures. And I have one other related issue. I really believe that this school budget referendum is a waste of time and money. We have two elected bodies that came together and agreed on a school budget, and I didn't like the compromise. I thought it was too low, but I had an opportunity to vote for the members of the town council and the school board in November, and I have another chance this coming November. We don't vote on any other budgets, it's just the school budget. And I realized that this was just on the ballot because I came and I voted, and I was 0 for all 3 issues in May. However, I think that it's a very poor statistical sampling to have the people that are motivated enough and have time enough to show up at a single issue ballot in May, and that turns out to be about 1 in 10, and then ask those people if we should continue to vote on that issue. That question should be on the ballot in November with everything else, and not in May with only the school budget. Thank you very much for my time tonight and your service on the council.
Thank you.
Give me a few minutes to just get my notes.
Yep.
I'm Jacqueline Duran Harthorn, Stonebrook Road, Scarborough. Tonight I speak to you as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a parent, and a volunteer in the Scarborough school systems. But most of all tonight I speak to you with a different perspective than most people in this room or last week in the room. I speak to you as an educator of 20-plus years of service. I talk to you tonight as a teacher with a master's degree plus 30 credit hours. Certainly, I have spent a great deal of my lifetime dedicated to education, not here in the town of Scarborough, but in a neighboring community. So this is the role that I'll speak to you this evening about. I have been more than pleased with the empathy and the dedication and the commitment of our 2 daughters in first grade have had from their teachers, from their administrators. They've shown that daily in our school. They speak highly of their teachers and are thrilled to see Mr. Thurlow on a daily basis. I will never forget the day that the girls came running off the bus, excited to talk about their visit from Dr. Entwistle, and how he talked about the turkeys in his yard. Impressive, let me tell you, that a superintendent would take time out of his busy schedule to come and see my daughters in first grade. This interaction goes beyond my expectations as a parent and beyond my experience as an educator. I've experienced firsthand how much education has changed in the past even 5 years and is continuing to do so with the new Common Core that we are swinging toward currently. Scarborough has a new and impressive math curriculum in the elementary grades. I've been most pleased with the instruction my daughters have received related to reading and reading comprehension skills. This has instilled in them a deep and true love of literature. If classroom size is increased, staff development is cut, and support staff is reduced, this will adversely affect their rich educational experiences in Scarborough schools. Years ago, technology didn't play a large role in education. Today, this is not the case, and you may or may not know, sitting on the board or out in the audience, but this is also part of the new Common Core that we must abide by. Neighboring districts' students have much more access, including the school that I teach in, to technology within their schools. Not even as affluent communities as Scarborough have way more technology than we are providing our students in elementary. They're using interactive whiteboards for whole group instruction, iPads and laptops. This has been the only disappointing area that I have had encountered within the Scarborough schools so far. One, however, that has been disturbing to me. Research on interactive whiteboard use within classroom instruction has shown that those classrooms that utilize an interactive whiteboard for classroom instruction achieve 18% greater than those classrooms who do not have that access. There is not one interactive whiteboard in our elementary classrooms in Scarborough. The research on iPads is new. However, one has to only go as far as Portland, Auburn, SAD 6, to see the power and impact that they are having on their students' educations. Currently, there's only one iPad per classroom in the elementary schools, and while this is a start, we are far from the goal that would be adequate.
Could you wrap it up, please?
Yes, I could. Lastly, I doubt that there is one taxpayer sitting in this room or out in the audience who is not or should not be proud of the academic standing within our town as compared with other towns in the state. I feel blessed that we have been able to live in a town that has had such high academic standard for our children. I would remind the board that up till now, the town has done this with the lowest per pupil expenditure in the state. It is now time to ask taxpayers to respect the financial responsibility that we have to uphold the educational standards in our town and pass this budget without further reduction. Thank you for your time.
Next.
Corey Fellows, 36 Orchard Street. I wanted to take a couple minutes to address a few of the comments that I've heard made over the past week or so, both at the public hearing last week as well as just around town. The first one, which we hear a lot, I'm on a fixed income. I would venture to say that most of us are. I myself, within the past few years, have faced a layoff. I haven't seen a raise. I'd even say that since we're raising 3 rapidly growing boys, my effective income has actually decreased, with all that money going to Hannaford and Sam's Club. My point is that I take exception to what I see as a spurious notion that this is about the haves versus the have-nots. I don't enjoy paying taxes any more than anyone else, and I don't like seeing them go up. But I believe strongly that we have a moral obligation to make sure that we provide quality public services, including high-quality education, to all of our citizens, even or maybe even especially during hard times. If that means dining out a little less or cutting back in other areas, that's fine with me. The next line that I've heard, and this is pretty much a direct quote from last week. If parents are so concerned about the schools, they should step up and make direct investments or donations. Otherwise, how can we expect seniors to pay their fair share? This one drew widespread applause at the last hearing, much to my dismay. It troubles me greatly on a couple of levels. First, anyone who's had any exposure to our schools knows that teachers and parents, and the students for that matter, are already heavily invested beyond the taxes that we pay. We volunteer in the classroom. We donate supplies. The teachers donate supplies. We spend our own dollars and we put in extra time to support school sports and after-school academic activities. Secondly, more fundamentally for me, why single out education as an area where those with the most direct stakes are expected to put in extra resources? As citizens and taxpayers, we all pay for services that don't directly benefit us, or that we maybe don't believe directly benefit us, so that our community can function. Even if one does concede that those who don't currently have kids in the schools, or who don't teach in the schools, that those don't benefit directly from quality schools, which is an erroneous assumption, which I think has been pretty thoroughly debunked by others, the fact remains that in order for our community to work effectively, we all have to chip in for a wide array of things. We don't generally get to pick and choose which things we think are worthwhile. The fact that the school budget is the only part of our town budget which has to withstand the line-by-line scrutiny of armchair superintendents and armchair town councilors from around town makes it, in my view, a convenient punching bag for folks who simply are fed up with paying taxes and with taxes going up. That, in my view, creates a misguided sense among some that school spending is somehow a luxury that any one of us can choose to forego if we don't care to pay for it. I can't exercise that type of personal veto power over specific line items in the rest of the municipal budget, nor should I. And finally, the last comment that I've heard. The pro-school spending people are just upset that the wrong people voted last time, and now they're trying to recruit a new group and overwhelm the opposition. Again, that's almost a direct quote. The sentiment that it's somehow unfair or poor sportsmanship for school supporters to try to increase voter turnout is ludicrous and, frankly, I think offensive. I would have found the low voter turnout shameful regardless of how things had turned out. Voting is a sacred right and responsibility, and none of us should be hoping that our fellow citizens stay home. Everyone's voice should be heard. In any event, those who opposed the school budget last time need not worry. This is not a do-over. The outcome of that first vote established a new lower funding baseline, and now the rest of us are engaged in damage control. It's my hope that, yes, sir. It is my hope that going forward, as others have proposed, we have a more rational process. In the meantime, I respectfully ask the council to hold the line on the budget. Thank you.
Next, remember, 3 minutes is what we're trying to get the people that didn't speak before in, so if you let them have an opportunity to speak, and when you hear the chimes down the end, your 3 minutes is up.
I timed it, but I have to read fast.
Okay. Sorry.
Let me start by saying that many of us are not against the children. Wait a minute.
Name and address, please.
Paula O'Brien, 20 Pondview Drive, Scarborough. Many of us are not against the children, young adults, or teachers of this awesome town we live in. I have children in this school system for over 23 years now and still do. I sat in the audience many years ago as a young parent asking, how can we cut music, art, or sports? We have to give them the money. Then year after year, it was the same thing. An enormous increase of between 7 and 9%, and if they don't get it, start by cutting what would get parents' attention. Teacher positions, music, art, and sports. Ever ask yourself or wonder, with millions being added to the school budget every year lately, why we should have to cut anything? I have nothing against any administrative personnel, but we have added way too many such positions over the years, which obviously impact the budget in large numbers. That's what needs to be paid attention to. That's what takes the money away from the kids. Go ahead, look up some of this information, like many parents of high schoolers did last year during the whole pay-to-park debate. I will tell you, many of those parents did not like what they saw, and I will also tell you that many of those same parents did vote and did not vote in favor of this budget because of what they saw when they looked up spending and these positions. Although today on the school website the budget is so blurred that you may have to look it up elsewhere. The other problem with such an enormous proposed tax increase that I and many others have is spending taxpayer money on such unnecessary items as a $50,000 viewing deck for the bleachers at the high school, or even thinking about it for that matter. One such example of a want, not a need. I keep hearing that Scarborough spends less per student than surrounding communities. Surrounding communities have their grounds maintenance in their budgets. We have ours in our community services budget. And who says we have to spend more to be better, to be more efficient? Who? So 10% of the voters turned out at the polls. Less than 10% showed up last year, and nobody squawked then. Oh, that's right, it passed. Even with the unfair advantage of an enormous database and mass emails from the school system urging parents to support the almost 9% budget increase, the budget was defeated. The message being sent is not against the kids. It was against the huge proposed tax increase again. Almost 24% in 4 years is more than most can tolerate and must be controlled. If the state is giving the town less money, then why don't we go to the state? No one group in this town gets more than the kids. Many, including seniors, wouldn't have it any other way. But at the same time, these kids have grandparents they love that are on SSI, Social Security, and they have to eat too. We couldn't even give them a $200,000 senior center for many, many people to use besides seniors, and these seniors have supported the schools for all these years and still will. They and others don't ask for much. They just want to stay in their homes that they've lived in for 30-plus years. They don't care about property tax values as they hope to die in their homes. We will all be seniors someday, quicker than you think. That's great that so many of you feel that raising everyone's taxes to support the never-ending large increases in the budget is the answer, but I urge you to think of your neighbor. The neighbor that was laid off last year. The neighbor collecting SSI and spends 3/4 of their check on medication. Okay, I'm going. Think of your neighbor who's the single mother. I, too, am a Scarborough graduate, a Redskin, and I know many more neighbors like the ones I mentioned. Many of my classmates still live in town, and some even run it. Some have businesses here, for now. Some of us were the lucky ones back then. We could afford a home here in town where we grew up. Enjoy your children now while they were in school. Because when they graduate high school and maybe college, at this rate, they won't be able to afford to live here. In the last 7 years, I can think of 2 former students that have bought a home here, and one of those was to a short sale. As far as the municipal side, I would agree there could be savings there, but they asked for a 1.8% increase. I urge the town council to listen to the voters that did show up and vote this time and keep the increase from last year's 9% down to 3%, because enough is enough.
Thank you. Next.
I'll be very brief. I didn't prepare any remarks, but I think we have to be careful not to make this...
Name and address.
I'm sorry. William Bly, 10 Ottawa Woods Road. I think we have to be careful not to make this a polarizing issue about parents versus seniors. In every meeting I've attended, it seems like that is the sentiment. Everybody has an agenda. We as a community have a responsibility to everybody, and that includes educating our children, and we're really short-shrifting them if we're going to continue to cut the budget. There are other places to cut, and the municipal budget is one of them. We're not going to get better as a town with brand-new police cruisers and brand-new signs. There are certainly projects that could be put off in the future and not attacking the school budget as we've done in the past and what we're doing now. I can't think of another municipal group that's had approximately 40 of its employees cut, but that's what's happened to the school system. I don't know what the percentage is, but let's think if we took 10% or more of our police force off and laid them off, or if we took 10% of our fire department and laid them off, how would the community feel? And that's just what we're doing with the school budget. That's what we're doing with our schools. Those people are taxpayers too, and they've lost their jobs. I think we need to be very careful about any further cuts, and I'm personally going to encourage parents that if there is even a $54,000 cut, to vote against that budget. We should be towing the line, which means no more cuts. That's got to be the message that people are sending. No more cuts. And I would encourage you to hold that line and not give in over $54,000 or more. If it needs to be cut, look at other budgets beyond the school budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next. Name and address.
Okay. Leah Kane, 160 Holmes Road. Okay, I missed the last meeting. I couldn't come here to it, but I did see the, listing of all the things that were going to get cut, and I just couldn't believe it. My son, he's been in the school, he's 14, getting ready to go into high school, and it's just, I went to school here as a kid, so I know what kind of classes were offered, and I just can't believe the things that they're proposing, down to 3%. It has me almost crying, because my son is not going to be prepared when he finishes school. He wants to be a dentist, and there's things you need to take in school, and I don't see them being around. I mean, he has not been challenged in schools. He started in 6th grade. They did cuts. I see them every year. It's easier and easier for him in school. And he's just not getting the challenging. It's easy. I see it in the grades of the kids. It used to be hard to make high honors. Now in the middle school, it's actually easy because they keep taking and cutting different things. And everybody has, he likes the sciences, but somebody might like art, and if you keep cutting these things, you're taking away people's dreams of the things that they might want to do. And I know from when I went to college, it's very important to take languages. I know he missed 6th, 7th grade, he had no languages. Then I guess he had it in 8th grade, but they felt so bad because they didn't teach him for 2 years, they didn't even grade him in it. And now, with what I saw on the list, he might not even have an access to languages, which is required in certain degrees. And I've gone to college. I know how hard it is to take a language. If you've had no experience taking a language, you couldn't pass it because you have to have that experience of taking it and, in high school and having some kind of a background. So I think the kids are getting punished when you do this, and it's not their fault that whatever the state, or I don't know where it was, took money away. Why should they be punished and not be able to, experience the same things when I was a kid here? We got to have all the, after-school programs. I think you'll see, if you take away those, you'll see even increase in drug use and things. The kids need to have activities to do after school. That's what keeps them, out of trouble. And, I mean, I don't mind paying for some things, but just to think that we'd lose them all, I just can't even imagine having no electives. Because you're going to miss a bunch of kids that they don't want to do the traditional things in school. They actually probably drop out of school, maybe. So I hope there's other ways. I didn't vote for the budget last time, not because I thought it was a good budget. I voted down because I thought it already was cutting too much. Because whatever you cut now, what are you going to cut next year? There's going to be no school system. I mean, I'm kind of locked in here because my son loves going to school here, but if I could move, if those cuts become what I saw on there, I would in a minute.
Thank you. Next. Name and address, please.
Jeff Porter, Cumberland Way. I have 2 children in the school system. I lived in Scarborough for several years, and I'd just like to start tonight by talking to you about an opportunity I had earlier today. I talked with probably about 10 students who had dropped out of school, not in this community, but in a different community around here. And basically, I asked them, along with the group that I was with, why they dropped out of school, what made them think about dropping out of school, and how did they come to this point in their life at the age of 16 to 24 years of age. And the reasons they gave, and these came right from their mouths, some of them said they felt like they were in a crowd. The class sizes were so large they got no personal attention. Some of them actually were able to make the correlation between the cuts in their school budgets to things they cared about, such as art, music, hands-on programming, tech ed, things like that. There was a lack of access to a caring adult because of schedule changes, not because of the adults, but because of the schedules in the schools that kept getting more rigid and rigid each year as cuts were made to the schools that they were attending. There was a cut in support services, counselors, schedules were impacted by that, so they weren't able to connect as well. And there was a basic lack of options for kids. Basically, it was math, English, social studies, and science, and the electives were fewer and fewer that they could choose from, and that wasn't keeping them. The hook wasn't there for them. When I start looking at the proposed cuts for the Scarborough schools, I start seeing a trend that gravitates towards what some of these students were saying. A lot of the cuts that we're talking about are not fat, they're bone. We're talking about things like foreign language, classroom teachers, art, music, cutbacks, athletics, after-school programs. These are all what I consider to be essential parts of a school program. This is not an expenditure-heavy budget. This is not a fat budget. This is a budget that reflects the shortage of revenues coming from the state. The state is experiencing shortage from the federal government. This is not a school district that's budgeting or over-budgeting for things. This is a district, like many in Maine right now, that are experiencing the potential of having revenues that will come in like this for many years. So as a community, we have to start asking ourselves, what are we going to do about that? And I don't envy the position you're in. And if property taxes are not the answer, then I think we need to start looking at alternatives. One of the alternatives I think we have to keep in mind are projects that come up in town. I've been driving down the Route 1 the last year or so, and I love the improvements to the Haggis Parkway. And I know that there was money that came to the town of Scarborough to help fund that project, but I also know that some of that was local dollars. $2.1 million was the project price tag, I believe. I have to wonder, is that a way to improve a community, or is the school system a better place to be putting $2.1 million? That's the way that we need to be improving our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Next, name and address. Is there anybody else?
Jack Kelly, 19 Oceanwood Drive. To start, I don't have the feeling that anybody wants to cut the school budget, just cut the increase to it. Many people favoring unlimited funding for schools have been attacking the nay voters at the school budget as anti-school. We're not against schools. When we cut our budgets at home, we're not anti-food or anti-shelter. but we can't afford the outlandish tax increase we've seen in the past 10 years. The increases have finally caught up with us. No more. If we try a couple of years of no increases, those of you who didn't get an 8 to 10% raise this year will make out. Come next week and vote no on the budget increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Bruce Bell, West Beach Ridge Road, Scarborough. I'm here to talk about the increase that the school department is asking for us as taxpayers to support this year. I think it's unconscionable to think that we should be looking at increasing the school budget more than our own wage increases, and many of us that are on retirement get a lot less than a 3% increase. I'm a little concerned when I look at the budget and look at the comments that were made, and hopefully they're all accurate, because I look at the cuts that were proposed for this next reduction if you go to that 3% reduction, 3% max on the school budget. And I saw, teachers, music teachers, guidance counselors. I went through the budget after that and started looking at things like assistant principals, assistant superintendents, and when I put the numbers together for just those few people, those numbers far exceed a $360,000 reduction. When I look at some of the other numbers that have been portrayed about the rate that the per pupil costs are related to other towns, I think you need to look at the whole cost. As another lady just said a few minutes ago, when you look at all of the sports field maintenance is not in that budget. How much does that amount to? Well, you have to really dig to find those numbers, and it's a challenge. But you're looking at about $500,000 just in that one piece that didn't appear to be added into that total when we looked at the per pupil cost. I only bring up a few areas, but you as counselors put out what I thought was a reasonable mandate, requirement, request, however you want to put it, of not exceeding 3%. I encourage you tonight to really seriously think about maintaining that requirement of the school board. I think the money is there, and it doesn't have to come out of Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4, or Tier 5 as it was presented. They can find that money, and with the few places that I just talked about, it would be quite easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Next. Name and address, please.
Drew Guire, 26 Ocean Avenue. I was here last week, and I guess to keep beating the dead horse, I just had a few questions that I wanted to ask, and I suppose I'll ask them rhetorically. At the beginning of this whole budget season, did anyone from the town council or the town manager consult with the superintendent about this state subsidy shortfall? Because I think, with the town, you have public safety, you've got community services, a school. It's like a family. And in my family, if one part of it ends up short, you kind of, the whole team kind of gets together to figure out the solution. So in other words, you're going to have everybody come in under 3, but there's going to be some times when somebody's got to come in a little, with more of a compromise or to give in to the general budget. It would just be, if the public safety perhaps could have maybe pinched to 0 increase to accommodate Mr. Entwistle and his school budget. We wouldn't have this big argument between the school and the folks that are here on fixed income, of which I am one, and I'll be honest, I haven't worked in a long time. I have a fixed income from my retirement, but seeing a property tax increase up to 23% over 4 years, it just doesn't match personal income increases. It has to stop. There has to be some sanity. And perhaps maybe if the town council in next budget season can sit back and act as a family, where if the school is going to have another shortfall from the state subsidies, be upfront and try to work it out. Let the other department heads know that they got to give a little bit more so that the school department can get through. That's all I've got to say. I just want to say the increase, the property tax increase, as a father of 2 kids in the school system, I look at having to move. I'll have to move because I won't be able to afford the property taxes with my fixed income. So that's the reality of it. Just be mindful. We're a team. School department, public safety, everybody has to give. You just can't sit down there and let the department heads say, well, I came in inside 3%, and the school department, ends up with a 1.2 million shortfall and has to take it in the chin. There has to be more synergy, more agreement among the department heads. Thank you.
Hold your applause, please. Who's next? Name and address. 3 minutes. One more.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Greenleaf. I live at 31 Stanford Lane. I just wanted to take this opportunity to maybe confirm my understanding of percentage increases tonight, because I heard different percentages tonight, and I thought it might be helpful to confirm the percentages out there. It's and maybe this is more of a question, and maybe someone could follow up and tell me whether this is correct or not, but it's my understanding that the school budget as proposed is a 3.87% increase over last year's budget. Of that, 2.7% of the 3.8% is non-discretionary. It's fixed costs that we have no control over, and includes the loss in state aid. So it is my impression that we're talking about a 1.1% increase that is discretionary over last year's budget. And I just want to confirm that. To me, it looks like we're looking at a 1.1% increase over last year's budget for discretionary spending.
We're not having a discussion or a debate, so make your comments.
I just, if someone,
hear that
it might be
information
helpful,
come up, I'm
it
sure.
might be helpful if, to maybe, if someone could state
we
a
always do
percentage that is correct, because there's several numbers floating out
Thank you.
there. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else?
My name is Pat Reagan. I teach at Wentworth Intermediate. I live at 5 Howard Lane. I have 3 children in the system. And when we start to look at these cuts, I'm going to give you a picture of what it looks like to me. I've been teaching at Scarborough for 15 years. My family moved to Scarborough for the schools. There's not a lot to cut from my point of view when you look at our day. We've already had foreign language cut before, music, arts. I myself, I do some clubs at the school. I do theater club and I do literature club. We probably have over 100 kids after school, and it's a way to impact kids on a daily basis where you can connect with them. I'd hate to see something like that cut. We look at other cuts. We're talking about sports, an opportunity for these kids to find themselves, to learn, to grow. I also, with my class, I do theater. And so we did a foreign language play this year with Blue Point. We were able to have 3 classes together, to come together and do a performance. I wonder what that's going to look like with more cuts. That means more students for me in the class. Instead of 20-some odd, maybe I have more. So I worry about that. How will I service these kids? I look at my wife, she's a teacher in Portland, works very hard, but she teaches a lot of classes and a lot of students. You know, I see her come home and have to crash on the couch because she works so hard each day with 30 kids in a class. She might have to move over on the couch so I can find a spot with her. You know, I need you guys to think about the programs we have. You know, it's not like it's excess. We have great, wonderful programs. People look towards Scarborough, Jim Dandies. You know, even middle school theater, I got a chance to see some of these kids who might fall through the cracks. Gives them a chance to shine, to grow, to learn. Where are they going to get that? So, you know, that's something we need to look at. As we have a new school that's coming up, I'd hate to see what that's going to look like. We'll have all these classrooms that are not used, or we'll have 30 kids in a class. How are our kids going to be able to meet the needs of a growing world and community? So I know it's a difficult job, and I appreciate what everybody does, but let's think about that and the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hold your applause, please. We're going to try to get through this tonight. Remember, there's a great deal of people that have to leave here tonight to go to a high school function, so let's keep them moving. Go.
Hello, I'm Doug Bennett, 32 Tall Pines Road. I'm here to encourage you to approve the $54,000 budget reduction that was put forward by the school board a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I will not vote for any budget that is even $1 more than $54,000. I'll do everything in my power to encourage people to vote against any budget that moves education for our children backwards once again. I hope you recognize that we are not going away. I mean, look at this crowd. We're dedicated to making a difference in Scarborough schools. The truth about Scarborough schools has been exposed, and the citizens of Scarborough have had enough. And I already plan to be here again 2 weeks from tonight as we once again discuss the budget, if this budget is more than $54,000. The reduction is more than $54,000, excuse me. I know the council feels there is no impact on the decisions regarding schools. You guys approve the money, and the schools make all the decision where it goes. However, I feel that you couldn't be more wrong. It's up to you to save the schools. Scarborough has gone through an unbelievable amount of cuts from the state with the expectation that the town will pick up the difference. In the last 5 years, the state has cut almost $4 million from Scarborough schools. This year alone, over $1.2 million in state aid from Scarborough has gone away. As costs to run schools go up, the money from the state has gone down. Some people look at the budget and say that the schools aren't facing cuts because the budget is going up. That is only true if you look at Scarborough's portion of the budget. But look at the impact of reductions from the state, the opposite is true. The Scarborough school budget is going down with devastating results to our children. What are the schools supposed to do now? 41 step members have been cut in the last 3 years. Once again, a long list of cuts are on the table. And I do need to point out some of the comments from people tonight are not accurate. For example, the observation deck is not part of the school budget. But you guys can change this trend in cuts to our schools. You will decide what is cut, not the school department. At this point, their hands are tied. I guess my biggest issue is how the town treats the school. I look around this town, and the infrastructure is absolutely amazing. I see a beautiful entranceway at Haggis Parkway, the construction in Dunston, new bathrooms and showers in Higgins Beach, the possibilities of spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in the Oak Hill area. I see new police cars and tons of fire trucks, and these beautiful new signs that tell me how to get around my hometown. These are all great things. I enjoy them. I'm sure we have to have them. Yeah, I'm sure it helps the town tremendously. But I wonder if we could do more, if we could do without some of these nice things, just as the schools are required to do without things that make a difference to the future of our children. I wonder if things can wait a year or two, just as the schools are being told to do. The only difference is that instead of waiting a year to put up a sign, our children are simply not taught something they need to learn and that will never get a chance to learn again. People did not move here because of new signs. Our property values won't be impacted by new intersections. People move here, and we will maintain our property values because of the schools. It makes no sense that we put such a little priority on our kids' future. We're at a point now where the decisions that you will make tonight will have a dramatic impact on my 10-year-old son, Max. If you cut $400,000 from the budget, he will no longer have the opportunity to learn a foreign language. He won't be able to do something that he loves in the drama club. He could miss out on other classes like he loves, like art and music. And the reductions in class offerings and electives throughout the school will hurt his ability to compete against students from other towns that consider education a priority if we do this reduction. doing irreversible damage, I got one more minute, just 1 second, doing irreversible damage to his education and the opportunities that his future may put us at this time. And I want to put one thing to keep in mind, a $400,000 reduction in the budget is 9% on our tax rate, which is equivalent to $2.25 a month. So I'm going to donate $2.25. I'm not trying to be sarcastic or inappropriate here, but people need help. Here's a 1 month of the tax increase to keep my kids' programs and his education a positive event for him. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to speak? Anybody else? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the council? Second reading.
I would move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Yep. I'd like to make a motion.
Amendment, go ahead.
Amendment, yeah.
Yep.
I'd like to move approval to amend the main motion as amended to reduce funding for the education budget by an additional $788,458 with a new school gross budget of $38,018,365.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? We have a second. Mr. Benedict, second. Councilor Benedict. Discussion? Councilor Blaze.
You're probably wondering where that number came from. That number is the difference between the proposed salaries in fiscal year 2014 and the salaries in the existing budget 2013. I've heard for 2 weeks now about how cutting the school budget is going to hurt programs. Well, if you cut salaries or tell all the teachers and all the administrators, forego your increase for a year, you're not impacting any programs whatsoever. Therefore, the kids should be fine. Give up a salary increase for a year. Think about all the people in this town that are on fixed incomes that don't get any salary increases. Think about all the people in this town that are working that don't get any increases. Think about the people in this town, in the municipal side of the government, that over the years have given up increases because it was a tight year. I don't think the school has ever given up any salary increases.
Oh, please, Jackie.
We didn't make comments.
It's really, really tough for a lot of people in this town to continue to pay the increased taxes. We are talking about a 22.5% increase in property taxes over the past 4 years. How many people have had their salaries increased by 22.5%? Very, very few. But people have to manage based upon what they're given for salaries. I would expect the school to be in a position to do the same. That's primarily where my motion is coming from.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on the amendment? Councilor Roy.
Right. Although it sounds easy, it's not easy. I think that the majority of the employees of the school department are in bargaining groups, in union groups. I don't know, there's over 600 employees in the school department, and probably 500 of those are unionized. And certainly to unilaterally reduce the salaries without some collective bargaining would certainly be against labor practice, and I think that's an important thing to consider. So I certainly would not support this amendment.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Councilor Holbrook.
Certainly, it's absolutely tempting, and I've always thought what a horrible time in this economic climate that, which are choices upon the school board, that we were going to adjust the pay scales and that we were going to adjust in cost of living. And again, these are union contracts, and they're unfortunate. Although I certainly applaud your effort, I think the best we can hope for is like what we've done on the municipal side. Our contracts have been negotiated, and we have done an exceptional job. Everybody on the union side, on the municipal department, have taken concessions. They've gone down to Plan C on their insurance options. They get considerably less and have gladly done so. And as far as I'm concerned, every single police officer, fireman, paramedic in this town deserves a handshake and your undying gratitude, because they've willingly done that. And no, that has not happened yet on the school side, and I think it was poor timing. But certainly in contract in this year, I don't think we have the ability to do that. I won't support it at this time, but I certainly applaud your effort. The flip side of that is, fortunately, they are coming into a new contract. So this year, they're in negotiations for their next upcoming 3-year contract. And I would hope that, knowing that we are probably going to see another $1 million lost in state funding next year, that we're not looking at such large increases.
Thank you. Any other comments on the amendment? I will not support this amendment. My feeling is it's negotiated contracts, it's things that are in motion. I personally would like the school board, if that's going to happen, come to us and propose that, instead of us doing it here at this table. On the municipal side, those folks have taken delayed pay raises, as I remember, so we didn't have layoffs. I think they did it a couple of times, to avoid layoffs. We as a council have put off hiring people to save, we needed new positions, new paramedics and firefighters, for an example, but we keep putting that off year after year, and the time came this year that we had to fill it, and we delayed that another 6 months. There's sacrifices all over the place that is happening. I too applaud your efforts to try to get a handle on this, but I think certainly what the school board talks about and what the citizens have talked about out here is that we need to sit down at a table and we need to have a frank discussion about salaries, health insurance, and things of that nature. That's okay, we can do that. I just don't think right here is the time to do it tonight, so I will not support the amendment. Anybody else want to speak on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? It fails. Now on the main motion. Is there any more discussion on the main motion? If not, this will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Roy?
Yes.
Counselor Holbrook?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor St. Clair?
Yes.
Counselor Blaze?
No.
Counselor Benedict?
Yes.
Chairman Alquist?
Yes. It's a vote. It passes. And it will be sent out to the voters
This Tuesday, June 11th.
June 11th. So everybody, make sure you vote. That's the most important thing that we look at, is the numbers and how many people get involved. I know a bunch of you have to leave to go to another function right now, so we're going to take a little 10-minute break so you can clear out. So I'll adjourn, not adjourn, but I'll go into recess. Could somebody close that back door, please, on your way out? Thank you.
Order number 1349 is the 6 p.m. public hearing and action on the new request for food handler's license for Lanky's Bagels LLC, doing business as Mr. Bagel, located at 350 Pine Point Road.
This is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this matter? Maybe Bud? No? Okay. See nobody else? I'll close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody from the public who want to speak? All those in favor? Opposed? It's a vote. Next item.
Under old business, order number 1343 is a second reading on the request from the Coastal Waters and Harbor Committee to expend monies from the Pine Point Waterfront Reserve Account, Capital Improvement Account, in an amount not to exceed $1,500 to repair the roadway by the new pier that allows vehicles to access the floats.
Anybody from the public who want to speak on this matter? If not, I'll turn over to Councilor Benedict to give us a brief explanation. If you could fix your mic, it goes right.
Thank you.
Okay.
This being the second reading, it was gone over at the first reading, and also as liaison, I was at their meetings, physical meetings. The $1,500, the way they came to the $1,500 was between getting estimates and figuring out what the needs were, not the wants, the needs, which is a nice thing to know, that it was needs, not wants. And I am in favor, personally, of funding that amount of money and allowing them to do what they need to do, because it also generates public appeal, and it helps the public when the public is down there launching their own boats, watercrafts, etc. So I would vote in favor of this.
You're doing that in the form of a motion, I take it?
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Roy?
Just an important point, and it's a need, certainly, and I think it's a need to provide for safety, and that's one of our responsibility as town councilors, to provide for the safety of our residents, and that's what this is doing, and that's why we're expending that money, which is set aside solely for purposes of the pier and the waterfront, so just to make a point about
Thank you, Councilor Holbrook.
expenditure.
Money is the root of all evil, so if I might.
And I did.
That account, although it did have some monies that were deposited into it as leftover from the pier project, it also is the account that, if I'm not mistaken, the new fee structure for the pier goes into, so this is something that's not coming out of the taxpayers, it's something that was paid into.
Correct. Yep, that's right. Anybody else want to speak? This is a roll call vote, so go ahead.
Councilor Roy?
Yes.
Councilor Holbrook?
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilor St. Clair?
Yes.
Councilor Blaze?
Yes.
Councilor Benedict?
Yes.
Chairman Alquist.
Yes. Next item?
Under new business, order number 1350 is act to authorize the town manager to sign a release deed to release tax liens filed in 1970 and 1971, tax map U002, lot 106.
And the information was supplied to the councilors, so it's a routine matter. Do we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a point that the
Yep.
taxes on the property are paid in full through June 30th of this year, so appropriate to release the deeds.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? It's a vote. What are we doing next? Non-action items, we have none, I take it? Standing committees, special committees?
Oops.
We'll
Sure, I have none. So, I just wanted to wrap it up.
Nothing?
Council Bennett?
Nada.
Okay. Council Roy?
Always. I have a few. Finance Committee met last on the 22nd of May, and one of the things we did there was to decide on the distribution of the monies to the various agencies that may request to us this year. We kept most of them as the same amount they had requested last year, and then we reduced others equally. In other words, by prorating the others, we reduced them to the allotted amount that we voted for in the budget, which was $50,000. The total budget was $60,000 as compared to $67,000 in the year prior, and so that we took care of that. I did attend the Scarborough Chamber meeting on the 20th, and they are having tomorrow their annual meeting at 5:30, no, not 5, at noontime. No, I'm sorry, on June 6th, at noon to 2 at the Black Point Inn. They're having their annual meeting. And GP-COG, the steering committee and the executive committee, which I'm a member of, they are having their annual GP-COG meeting on June 12th from 11:30 to 2 at the Glickman Building on the 7th floor. The PACS committee, which is the committee that determines how $13 million worth of federal dollars are expended on road projects throughout the PACS area. They are having their annual meeting on June 7th from noon to 1, again at the Glickman Building. Energy Committee is due to meet on June 19th. The Long Range Planning Committee is meeting Friday, the 7th. And that's it.
That's enough. Councilor?
Appointments Committee met this evening. We have some names to post. We have, for the Planning Board, we have David Buford as a to a full voting member. And then we have John DuPont for the Planning Board to move as a first alternate. For the Energy Committee, we have David Kirstein to the Energy Committee as a first alternate. To the Ad Hoc Historic Preservation Committee, post Carol Rancourt to serve as a full voting member. And just a note for those of you that might still be listening, we have several committees with vacancies and openings, so if you have an interest, there's certainly a great need. Board of Assessment Review has openings. Cable Television Committee has 5 openings. Coastal Waters and Harbor Committee has 2 openings. Community Services and Recreation has an opening. There's an opening as a second and alternate on the Energy Committee. Parks and Conservation has an opening. There are 3 openings on the Personal Appeals Board. There is also still openings and vacancies on Historic Preservation and an alternate position for the Planning Board. On to my others. Let's see. Housing Alliance will meet on tomorrow, actually Thursday the 6th at 7 p.m. With continued discussions about the Habitat Project and where that's going. The Conservation Committee will be meeting Monday the 10th at 7 p.m. To continue working on recommendations for the town-owned properties. That was something that council had asked them to do. And then Historic Preservation Committee will be meeting Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30. We met a couple weeks ago for the first time. Members just kind of sort of shaded the duties for chair and minutes and that sort of thing. And they'll be at the next meeting looking at the information process of different parcels and land, and there's some information from the Historic Society that they've graciously offered to us to look at. And then, that's it.
Transportation Committee met towards the end of May. I was unable to attend because I was working, and I have not received the minutes, so I really don't have an update from that. They did decide to not meet in June and meet in, I believe it was July 19th. Ordinance Committee is scheduled for Tuesday, the 25th at 5:30. I'm probably going to be looking to see if we could move that. Something's come up, and I'm unable to attend unless Ronnie feels like taking over.
What, you want to move it another day, or?
Yeah, but we can discuss that.
Oh, okay.
At another
Yeah,
time.
I don't mind doing it. Well, you might be surprised when you get back there.
Okay. And that's all I have to report. We have, other than that, we have quite a slate of things to look at on the 25th for ordinance, so that's why I'd probably be interested in changing it. And you
Okay.
probably should attend.
Okay. Thank you. Eco Maine, they're going to have their annual meeting coming right up. I'll post the date someplace for the councilors will know.
It's on the SharePoint site.
It's on the SharePoint site. If you're interested in going to that, I'll be attending that. Other than that, town manager's report, he's not here. He's going to forward some comments to the councilors. And next is the councilor comments, and we'll start with Councilor St. Clair.
I don't have any tonight. Thank you, though.
Councilor Blade.
Nothing.
Councilor Benedict.
I think enough has been said tonight from my point of view. Thank you.
Yep. Councilor Sullivan.
Quite an interesting two council meetings. I heard a lot through emails also. I read a lot of them. I spent, some mornings I got up at 4:30 in the morning to read them. I'm sorry that I couldn't reply to everyone. There was just so many of them from both sides. So I do apologize for that. And, everybody has a chance to go out and vote on this issue again. So there is a second chance. It's not a done deal. And to a lot of people, I said, and I hope they respect this, and, a vote's a vote, regardless of how many people, whether it's 10% or 2%. They turned out to vote, and at $54,000, I don't know whether we respected their vote. And if we, if we see this again, it's a clear indication of that it is too high. And we'll just have to wait to see what that vote is. But still, I have to respect those people that came out and voted, and respect their wishes. I don't think if 3 years ago, when the school vote was voted, when it was voted down, and that it was voted that it was too low, I don't think those people would be too happy if I ignored their vote and went the other way. So that's just the way it goes, and we'll see what happens on the 11th. And I encourage everybody to get out and vote this time.
Right.
Whatever way you want to vote.
Right. Thank you. Councilor Hooper.
Certainly, yeah, there's a lot that's been said, and again, I'm going to mimic some of Councilor Sullivan's thoughts. Again, I'd like to apologize, too. I couldn't possibly, between work and kids and the couple hundred emails that I think I got, for both sides of the fence, I was not able to reply to most of them. But certainly, they get read. They do get read. Like I said, I can't always respond to them. Certainly, if I don't think there was a question, if I thought it was just a sentiment, I don't respond anyway. But I do open them. I do read each and every single one of them. And yes, sometimes it's at the wee hours of the morning. So I want to touch base on something. I want to applaud the folks that have gotten together. I know there's been some heartburn amongst folks that there's been a lot of, Facebook stuff and whatnot. And certainly I applaud that. Anytime a group of people can get together and have that kind of energy and momentum, it's wonderful. And that's what you look for in a community. That shows that there are people vested and care about their community. But I want to maybe just, if I could encourage you, to take some of that focus and some of that energy and put that towards what the underlying problem here is, which is the state. We wouldn't be in this discussion or in these problems if it wasn't for the state. We've, as they've alluded to earlier, it's 4 million. And we're supposed to be at 55% funding, and we're not even close to that. And again, it's the kids that are the losers. And each year, the community comes together and votes and steps up to that plate. You know, Scarborough schools have not lost funding. We've met that challenge each and every year, and it's increased. That budget has gone up every year. And certainly, I don't discount the vote for the last referendum question. Again, I applaud the energy that came out. I know some folks are, concerned that it was only 10% of the vote, of the ability to vote. But it was also our highest ever turnout for a referendum vote. We have never had that many people come to vote, and I appreciate that fact too, and I don't disregard that either. That's, again, an impressive message that people came together and cared enough to say it's too high. So again, take all those great energies and all that great focus, and please, I beg of you, focus that on your state representatives and on the state themselves. That would be Amy Vogt, Heather Siraki. Go to your leaders and say, please stop doing this at the cost of our children. You've already paid those monies, and now you're having to pay them twice on the municipal side to make up for that. Again, my personal views and my council views are always separate. And I would like to encourage everybody to vote. I certainly do. It's my right as a citizen, and I exercise that right every chance I get. And just one last comment, if I may. I grew up here in town, yes. I'm fifth generation, and my folks brought me down to what's no longer there, but down to the Kmart. And we bought pencils and paper and backpacks and everything else, just as much as everybody else does today. So I don't really think that's anything too different. We certainly did that. It was exciting. That was exciting for us. So, you get to pick up.
It's a night out.
Yeah. What else to do? I was sad to see it go. Yeah. That's it for me.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you're on it now.
That's Roy?
Yeah, just a couple of things. Certainly, I appreciate all of the folks that did come out tonight. I guess I feel a little bit differently about the numbers that get out on a validation vote, in that it's the sole reason why we switched from a selectman form of government to a town council, town manager form of government, because 1,500 people get to have their say on how the other 13,000 voters experience their life in Scarborough. So I want to see more people get out there to vote, because it does give you a flavor, but it doesn't really speak for the whole. And I've said it many times, it depended in the selectman form of government how many people you could bring with you of your persuasion and how late they could stay up. And the people that came tonight, a lot of them took the time out of their busy personal lives, whereas others said that they couldn't come because they had children to take care of, or they had to work, and those kinds of things. So I applaud those that did come out, but I want to see more. I guess I'm always surprised at the amount of misinformation that is out there in the public. It really bothers me quite a bit. And it makes me think that we need to go back to doing the Friday Forum, and need to have some informational topics on Friday Forum to help educate the public about the process of our local government and what happens. For example, they said, well, why did we have to vote on whether we have a validation vote? And it didn't come from us. It came from the Board of Education. It was mandated in 2009 that we have a validation vote on the school budget. And as I researched it, I found out that they said people could get out to vote if they went to their district meeting, i.e. most of them had selectman form of governments, and they could make their point public. But it was the validation vote they hoped would provide the alternative for people to vote, particularly those people in the armed services who were unable to be locally present. And then the second thing was, why did we ask them, do we want to continue it? It's because that law that was passed said that every 3 years you must ask your constituents if they want to continue with the validation vote. And then I also found the purpose of why there is a validation vote, and this was the stated purpose. The purpose of a validation vote is to encourage disciplined school budgets that provides tax relief for Maine families. And I'm not sure that's really happening. So just kind of, of interest to me, when I was looking at that. Certainly, we're experiencing here in Scarborough, many of the other communities, particularly in Cumberland and York County, as we struggle against these revenue losses, that yes, get out and talk with Amy Volk and talk with Heather Siraki and Mr. Boyle, and Millett is the other state senator. We're punished for being a healthy community. Throughout the recession, we stayed above the line as far as development was concerned and everything. And then we got 2 A's and a B in our school systems, even though we spend so much less than every other community per pupil, which is a number I hate. And the state punishes us by giving us less revenues every single year because we're supposedly a rich community. So Heather Siraki and Amy Volk and Mr. Boyle and Miss Millett need to work on that. They need to work for us a little bit more. So those are some of the thoughts, and I will have other thoughts after the vote is over. But one of the other things that people kept saying is give more to the schools and less to the municipality. And just FYI, in 2011, 33% of our budget went to the municipals departments. 63% went to the schools and 4% to county. In 2012, 34% of the budget went to municipal and 62% went to the schools and 4% to county. So I think we're doing a pretty good fair share. It's 50% more of our budget is provided to the school system. So we're not against education, certainly, and we do what we can. And then there are a lot of numbers out there, certainly, that are skewed. Just basically that the municipal budget came in at 1.3% final. And the Public Works Department came in minus 1.7%. So those are statistics, and I think on something like a Friday forum, we could help to educate the public about the process of local government and perhaps give them some help with that. So those are my comments for now. I also would like to name those folks who passed away over the last few weeks and offer condolences out to their families and friends. Mary Jane Conley, Joe Conley's wife, William Titcomb, Wesley Frazier, he was a resident at Piper Shores, Ann Crockett, Augustine DeBias, Dwayne Oliver Thomas, Alan Butch Watts. Was he at Beach Ridge?
Went to guards with my dad.
Yeah. Dr. Philip Whitney, Ann Hughes Foden, and just was in the paper yesterday, Kenny Durgan passed away, and then today, Ashley Johnson, and she was a 2008 graduate of Scarborough High School. So condolences out to their family and friends. That's it.
Thank you for your comments. First of all, I just want to say to the Thomas family, Mr. Thomas passed away. He was my neighbor for many, many years, lived on the Mitchell Hill Road. Wonderful fellow. I went to school with his kids, and he was a great neighborhood guy, and we always kept in touch, I guess, over the years, and I'm going to miss him, and I'm sure the neighborhood, the people that are still there that knew him are going to miss him too. He's a wonderful man, and my condolences also to him, his family, to his family. This budget process, it always perplexes me, and I think Council Roy said it right. It's like the misinformation that is out there is just mind-boggling, You have a public hearing, I guess everybody can get up and just say what they want. A lot of times it's not based on fact. They just say it. Maybe they can get a round of applause or something, but the fact of the matter is, we treat our schools very, very well, and we have funded them really well over the years. I suspect like Jackie Perry says to me all the time, you can never give enough to education. I suspect that's the deal. What is the deal for us as a council? We have to look out for everybody in town. We have to look on the municipal side, which to me is just as important as the school side, and I know the school people do not accept that premise, but it's true. The fact of the matter is, when you call the fire department, you want the fire department to be there. When you call the police department, you want the police department to be there. But some people say to me over and over again, we ought to cut policemen, we ought to cut firemen, You need them when you need them. And it's our job to make sure that we staff those positions fully. The other thing that kind of irks me a little bit is say that we have to look at the municipal side. We scrutinize every penny of that. I mean, it's amazing what we do on the municipal side to make things work. The Public Works Department, how they rebuild, refurbish their equipment, how they do rebuild equipment for other departments in town. I mean, they have the state-of-the-art facility down there, and they are saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars. I can go through every department. Look at the fire department. I mean, we got paramedics that should have been hired years ago, and every year, sitting on the finance committee, I wasn't on there this year, we keep putting it off. We can't put it off anymore. It used to be you hired firefighters to fight fires, but now with a dwindling number of fires because of technology and smoke detectors and everything, the number of rescue calls has skyrocketed for whatever reason. But we're there. We have paramedics. There's a town around us that only has one paramedic on duty. We have the best of the best when it comes to fire, police, public works, the town office people. They do a tremendous job. And when we got into difficulty a couple of years ago, we asked them if they would rather have their pay raise, which they negotiated, or they wanted layoffs. And every one of them said, we don't want layoffs. We'll give back our pay raises. I suspect maybe the school department would like to think about that a little bit, because on their side, they want to talk about everything, except they want to talk about the wages of their teachers and administrators. The fact of the matter is, I would like to see them have a professional negotiator and not an in-house negotiator who is on the same side as the teachers negotiating against them. It doesn't make sense to me. I think they could do it better. I think health insurance is totally out of control on that side. We need to fix it. Councilor Blaze wasn't off base tonight. He made some very valid points that we're going to have to address. We can talk about pencils, and all you want, and Councilor Holbrook's right. I mean, we bought all of our schools. I bought all my school supplies, and now people don't think they have to do that. And the other thing that I hear about is books. Kids aren't getting books. Well, we were told by Governor King that laptops was where it's at. Kids had so much more information they could get out of a laptop than they could out of a book. So we all supported that. It was a guess, but I suspect that laptops are a heck of a lot more valuable than an individual book. I think the opportunity's out there, and they're great. And for those people who say that they're looking to go to another town, Councilor Roy says this all the time: good luck to you. Find a better town. I don't think you can do it, whether it's on the municipal side or on the school side. Now, maybe we don't pay our teachers as high as Falmouth or another town out there, but you know what? I think we have good quality education for the money that we put into it. I do not apologize for that, what we do for our education and what we do on the municipal side. We run a tight ship here. Every year, we're going to have people stand up and cuss us out and talk about us, and we should do this, we should do that. Remember the lady last year? We should sell a fire truck and give it to education. That didn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me, and I kind of hope, well, I'm thinking she wasn't a Scarborough graduate, but maybe. I'm thinking it was from away someplace. I get frustrated with that, but, I commend the council to sit through hours and hours and hours of finance meetings, You go over every little detail. You go home at night, you don't watch the Red Sox, you're going over documents, You have family, so a lot of you have family, and, you need to put family time into it, in the equation someplace, but you seem to make it work, and I appreciate that. And I think the majority of the town appreciates it, too. The most important thing that we can do, in my opinion, is vote. You know, Bud Hanson and I, we talk about this quite often. You know, the most magnificent thing we could have in this town is that everybody voted, you know? No matter what side you're on, just take the step and go out to vote. It's important, not only on this school vote, but certainly in the fall. You know, get involved, vote. It's, you know, go down to the Veterans Home. That's what, those are guys, you know, that let us vote. I mean, they did it. They fought for us so we could do it. Let's not abuse that right. You know, these people that sat home, didn't get off their duffs, didn't vote the first time, and now they're complaining? You're kidding me, right? You could have got out there. Maybe you will this time. So I encourage you to do that. I encourage you, if you don't want to come in here election day, that you get an absentee ballot. And how do they do that, Tony?
They can come into the clerk's office and vote actual in person, or if they have a spouse or a family member that's not able to come to the polls, they're able to fill out a form and take an absentee ballot to them and bring it back.
And when are those going to be available?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning,
They've
the
actually been available.
They've been available. So
Yes.
they are available now, the absentee ballot. So really, there is no excuse. I come in whenever it's convenient for me, and my wife does the same thing. I'm sure you can too. So if you can't make it election day, you got to work or whatever, there's other opportunities you can. But again,
I would like to have you, I tried this a long time ago, but no one listened then either. Council member comments, I find them so interesting.
Step right.
Hear you all talk.
We have somebody who's going to
Straighten us out.
It's like our extra counselor, that's what it is.
My name is Millard Hanson, and I live on Stony Creek Drive here in Scarborough. And I find that of all the items that you talk about, one of the things I really enjoy is the council member comments. And I often try, why don't you make that one of the first items so we all can hear what you're talking about way down deep, okay? It isn't a law, it isn't a program, it's how you personally feel and some of the committees that you were on. It is so good with us that Hallie Hodge and I have decided that maybe we have added to our agenda, Ed, is discussion points. We have comments, and then we sit down maybe 10 or 15 minutes with a whole gang of the board members and just discuss things, talk about things right off top of the table conversation. And it's very, very interesting. And there's a lot we're doing in the senior group. We'll talk about them after our next meeting on the 18th, and we'll come and visit with you again. I says, I found the meeting very enjoyable, and Judy, you always have something to say.
I know Ron gets after that.
That hasn't changed.
But that discussion issue Tom has brought up when he was in Rockland, one of the things that they did was change the focus of their council meetings. They had 2 council meetings a month, but the first meeting of the month was basically a discussion meeting. All of the topics that were going to come up and be voted on at the second meeting were up for discussion between councilors. So you spent that first meeting of the month discussing the various items that were on the agenda, asking questions, getting clarification, so that at that second meeting, you were well-versed in all the information that you needed. You might, get some more information at the second meeting, but then could make, have a vote at that second meeting. So that's something I think we want to discuss as far as perhaps a potential change.
I agree.
The workshops work well for us, and I
Yeah.
find that, no, we might not all agree, but I don't think it's fair to go to a meeting like you have here tonight and argue among themselves. I think a little workshop and discussion beforehand, and you all get in sync. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As you can tell, I've lost control of this meeting. And Bud's the only one in the audience right now. How did that happen? I was just going to say, if those people that are watching tonight that spoke and were so angry at us for not giving what they wanted or what they asked for, really, maybe you should direct that anger, like Council Roy says, you should direct that to Augusta. I mean, that's where...
Council Holbrook said that.
Everybody is saying the same thing, and that, Augusta, it's disintegrating, the funding for the schools, for the communities, and we have a local representative that kind of speaks out of both sides of their mouth, they kind of chastise us for cutting school, and then they go up there and they vote for the governor's budget that's going to cut the schools. That don't make sense to me, you know? So I think we have to hold them accountable, the people who we elected and we put into Augusta. And that's, right now, is crunch time within the next 2 weeks, that then they're going to adjourn. So this is when they're making decisions, and now's the time to get a hold of those people.
And we did a resolution.
We did.
Tom had it tonight. We were going to
We did.
reread that resolution, but
We'll,
basically, that's what it says to them. Do what you're supposed to be doing to help us, the community, meet the needs of our citizens.
That's right. Back in March, we passed a resolution. We were going to bring it up tonight. Cody, we can put that into the record for tonight, and maybe we can get up there so people can see exactly what we passed. It's so important that we do that. The other point that I want to make, my last point, I'm starting to go as long as Council Roy here, and worrying me a little bit.
You're way ahead of me tonight. I had lots more, and I tempered it.
I worry about how we're going to fund education and municipalities in the future, you know? I think we got to think outside the box, you know? I really applaud the discussion that we sit down both sides, you know, and we figure it out how we're going to fund education in the future, you know, and whether it's on the state keeps telling us they're going to cut us back, cut us back, cut us back. We cannot afford to put it on the backs of the taxpayers every time. We got to find alternatives, you know. Somebody got upset with me because we're talking about Scarborough Downs again in the casino. You know what? Everything's on the table right now. Everything. It has to be. You know, I feel different about it now than I did a few years ago, just because the way the funding mechanisms are going away here, you know, talking about Augusta and how they send money our way. So, again, we need to look at everything on the table.
People want to keep Scarborough to the degree that it is, the reason that we all came here and moved here and love here. But everyone has to make a concession at some point. And so people may not love the thought of a Racino, but we have to consider all those things. That's our job and our duty, and that's why we were voted into this position.
Absolutely. So we are going to consider it. Councilor Benedict had.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, after all that, I don't have a whole lot. One thing that I was glad to hear Ron bring up, because our people in the audience didn't bring it up tonight, they complained about, oh, the 10% is only the 10% and blah, 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 blah. And I say that not disrespectfully, but honestly, absentee voting was part of that vote also. So there is absolutely zero excuses except God knows what, but there was no excuses for those who had the interest that they could not have voiced their opinion. It's in our Constitution. It's their right to vote. Not a right to complain, but a right to vote. And if you can't get it because your children, your work, you're this, you're that, get an absentee vote. It still counts. And 10% on a given day, on a given minute, throughout the whole day, that's who found it important to come out and vote. And however large or small that number is, that's what it was. And people got to understand and accept that and not just shrug it off. And the third thing that I have to say that I think is the most important and has sort of galled me up until this point is I wish that in these discussions, they didn't wait till the last 2 minutes or 2 weeks to come up and voice opinions. The council meets twice a month, except in the summer, and there's various sub-meetings every month. I'm probably in 4, 5, 6 meetings a month. And I've got an email. And I believe I speak for all of us. I don't know, did anybody get an email 6 months ago wondering about the budget? No. It only becomes important when it becomes critical. And that's another reason why we have the arguments that we do, because people are jumping off the starting block at the last second. Come beforehand. And if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. If you have some solutions, bring them into us. You have our phone numbers, you have our emails, you see everybody around town. There is no reason that we have to wait till the last second and everybody getting their panties in a bunch because they don't like what's going on. You've got the ability to speak to us, and every one of us recognize it. With that, get out and vote, please. Thank you.
Ron, I just make a point about the Finance Committee. We did talk with the School Finance Committee about meeting at least every 3 months with them as the year progresses. I've also talked with the town manager, and the Finance Committee is going to continue to meet monthly, and what I'd like to do with that Finance Committee is to have each department come and let's take a look together at what the department provides for services and how they do it, and how and what kinds of things we could perhaps reduce or do less of, because we do a lot for our citizens that perhaps other communities don't. So we're going to work hard at looking long and hard at all departments of the municipal government to see how we can be more efficient, and then Council Blaze is working with the incentive program, and we may get some ideas and thoughts from our employees as well. So we are working hard, whether people think we are not. We're working hard to try to beat the punch maybe for next year, because next year's not going to be any better.
And Council Sullivan,
since
no,
you get
it's,
done, I don't want you to
it's still
adjourn.
my comment period. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That doesn't seem to be going well for me, but go ahead, no, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
The thing I wanted to make plain and clear is that, this has been an ongoing problem for 8 years, and I saw it coming. The state is continuously shifting the burden to, well, I'm going to say Scarborough. When they start saying that you take care of your own roads that they're responsible for, we can't afford to pave that road, so Scarborough steps up the plate and does it. And it's the same for school funding. We had Tabor was brought up, I don't know, I'm going to guess 8 years ago. And the state said, no, we'll take care of everything. Don't vote for that. We'll take care of everything. Well, they let us down there. They let us down on the 55% school funding. Now they're talking about taking revenue sharing, taking all this, revenue away from the town and shifting that burden onto the taxpayers. And people are seeing that in this town, and they don't like it. And they have to remember, this council's not doing it, the state's doing it. So it doesn't matter what party is in power. We've been let down time and time again by the state. So they need to get out there and voice their frustrations to their representatives. Send them as many emails as I got.
Thank you. And the last thing I have to say is...
Thank you for yielding.
No, that's fine. I just want to remind people that one of the goals of this council this year was to make this a business-friendly community, and we've worked very hard to do that. Certainly, Tom and Dan have put together a program which I think is very good about the things they're trying to do to entice people from coming here to Scarborough. And I hope that that's going to continue to be put on cable, and I hope people will take the opportunity to watch that, because we're doing things here. We're trying to get Higgins Parkway filled. We're trying to do different areas in town we're trying to get developed. So there's a lot of things in the air that we're trying to do it to ease the tax burden. So make yourself informed. Just don't come here and say, we don't do anything, we just want more money. We got to find different ways to find that money. And with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.